Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Chick Smooth. Thank you guys for subscribing to my channel and for liking my videos. If you haven't liked this one, stop what you're doing and hit that like button ASAP. All right. Listen, I'm glad you guys are enjoying all the content that I'm putting out. If you're really watching, I'm putting out about 5 to 10 videos a day just for you guys. All right. So some of you guys have asked, what's the number one way to support me? To be honest, is by donating to my Cash App or Venmo. It's Chicks908 on both of those platforms. Any amount that you want to give is cool with me. A lot of these videos that I'm putting out for you guys, I'm staying up late. I'm working like a dog for you guys. I'm getting about 3 to 4 hours of sleep each night. All right. So if you want to show some support, hit up the Cash App or Venmo. I've got a lot more amazing, funny content for you guys. All right. So let's jump right into this one.
And billions of dollars have been extracted from this so-called culture called hip hop. We gave it away. Billions. We don't own one fucking hospital. We don't own nothing. And yet you go to every other culture and they're thriving off their cultural wealth. We do the shit every time. And here we are on this line. Do white people belong to hip hop? No disrespect for the brothers who made this room. It's the perfect room to have this conversation. But the truth of the matter is, we are functioning outside of the social construct. In our minds, we think we're part of this social construct. We are not. And I keep saying that over and over. We are being farmed. That's what this is. We're being farmed. So we do what we do naturally, and it is extracted from us. Corporations is the extraction of culture that is redistributed to the practitioners for a price. And so I'm gonna end on that. I think we should, this conversation should keep going. But if you don't understand what hip hop really is, you have to really do your research. It is not based on this myth. Hip hop comes from you. It's from you. It is within your genetic makeup. It is ancient. It is an ancient genetic expression through your fucking genes. You can't help it if you wanted to. It's the same shit that the natives, our ancestors that did here. It's the same shit. But we, in our time, we use the technology that shapes the directions that we go in the distress that we're in to survive. So we apply what we naturally do. And the powers that be are aware of this shit and they farm us for it.
I think that point, a lot of points you made, OG, we had said already in different aspects of the substantiate and paint other pictures. I think the question, do black people belong in hip hop? Absolutely. I do have an issue with.
Do you understand what I mean when I say that, brother?
I understand. I listen. I understand. I definitely understand. There was a few points you had made that just really weren't there. So when we started talking about, when you start speaking about why there's no hospitals in the name of hip hop, but I guess greater than that, I guess you were speaking about black people, or us being farmed and things of that nature. You got to understand that when hip hop became commercialized, when it became something you could make profit from, you were profiting off of poor people that were already
that's
poor.
what I was saying, brother. I said that we're chasing. I said that.
Go ahead.
I said that. I said what they extracted from us because of because how we are being treated. We're put in a position that we have to do something to survive. I'm on point. I'm on point with it, bro. We're put there and we don't recognize the farming aspect of it. And so because we are oppressed systematically, and we're trying to deal with our situation, and we use hip hop outside of the context of the reality that we're functioning in. And that's the way they extract it from us, because we're put in a situation where we don't have many choices. And so our cultural wealth, we use our cultural wealth in the position of desperation. And so it's easily extracted.
My only problem with this line of conversation is that it empowers a a juxtaposed thought process in the white people that want to have something to stand on. There's gonna be a
does
white
not. If you, if
there's gonna be a white person that hears this. So the next time we have this room or the next time this conversation has elsewhere, there's gonna be a white person that comes and detracts the conversation and says, well, Grandmaster DXT, who was there from the beginning, he said, do black people really even belong there? So really, whose is it? And right, and we get into and we'll get into
bro,
this weird space.
you don't understand what I'm saying. If you think that
I'm not
what I said.
I don't think that. I'm saying that line of thinking or that line of conversation even being entertained.
I think what you're saying, Mus, I don't want to interrupt you.
Go ahead,
think
Myself. You got it.
to give clarity, what he's saying, Grandmaster, is that basically there's a lot of people that aren't gonna understand what you're saying because it's a deep complex. What you're saying, the complexity of what you're saying, is
Absolutely.
not for the average person to hear, right?
Absolutely.
This conversation that you having should be in like a private room with people,
Yeah.
with real historians and people who are able to relate a message. Because the question itself, when you're saying it, I understand exactly what you're saying, and in the terms of what you're saying is basically, what hip hop was made for. It comes from our being, is our cultural way of expression. It was how we utilize to escape certain things or express certain things. It comes from our being. It wasn't really started in the raw. It didn't start anywhere. It started within us, and it was extracted from us because we were poor, and we found a way to utilize it to make money. So they extracted and they utilized and they farmed us. And so what you're saying now is basically what it has turned into, because it was what it is now is what it was never intended to be. It never is. I mean, it is no longer the cultural expression and the inner thing that was within us. What it is now, do we actually still belong in that? So I
There you go.
understand
There you got
exactly
it,
what
brother.
you're saying.
That's what I'm
So what
saying.
I'm saying is what
Yes.
he was saying was that the way that when just the question itself, without people really understanding the average person, because I think I think I'm kind of intelligent. I read a couple books and I studied a few things. So sit here and really, because when you first said it, I was a little thrown back. I said, okay, Mike, think a little deeper. But the average person that's just listening here in the room is gonna say maybe you went a little too deep for them. So the statement itself may have been misleading. So he didn't want you to say that and mislead the average person that was just
Mm-hmm.
Right.
you
I understand
just
that,
want to
but
have
my,
something
my
to
my
grab
statement
onto.
is not to mislead. It's to make you realize there's another depth to this. That's the point. The point is to
No,
make
I get it.
everyone who's listening,
I
even if
wanted you
it's
to
too
see what
deep.
he was saying. I
No, I
just
got
want
it. I understand him totally.
okay.
And
Yeah,
so my
people
point,
people who don't people who
understand.
leave it on the surface are going to weaponize that one
Mm-hmm.
statement is what Mouse is
Exactly.
saying. They'll weaponize that,
Exactly.
Some
use it as
will.
a deflection, and will be completely fucked up and have another fight to
100,
fight.
100%.
100%,
Some
100%.
people will. Some people will.
No, absolutely, and
Real
that's
quick.
that was Mouse's concern, and
That's
I
Yeah.
yeah.
understood both
That's all.
sides,
Yo,
but I hear where Mouse is coming
Yeah.
from because
Some
that's something
people.
that's easily weaponized.
Right.
yo,
Can
Some
you
I?
guys
people.
might can I jump in for one quick second
I would
and
love to jump into after Bishop. If
I just want to like say something respectfully. I understand that sentiment as well, that there are ignorant fucking people that will try to weaponize that, and I feel that yeah, I understand Mouse's pushback there. Um, the other side of it too, or I don't know if it's the other side. I'm gonna try to get this thought out properly. When it, because like what my son said, and there are a bunch of people in here that we get it automatically as soon as we heard it, and then we kind of like maybe turn our head sideways and we're like, huh, like where's it going, right? And then all of a sudden we got it right. um I still feel like it was like there's so many people on this stage right now that I'd love to hear their thoughts and their feelings about that that sentiment.
can
if
I?
you guys if you guys are comfortable with that, I don't know, but
Yeah,
like
let the
it
sister
was
talk.
powerful.
I'd love to just like maybe do two things.
Yeah, go ahead, Mel.
Just first like add to the real philosophical question that was posed and maybe add something that's easier to understand. It I actually studied post-colonialism in school and adopted like a theory that I use through most of it in terms of how history is written and how there's these erasures and rewritings through time, and I think it might be helpful. So if anyone's familiar with the palimpsest, it's a piece of like ancient script that people who would conquer one place would write the history on it, and then when it was reconquered, it was wiped clean and rewritten over. Now when you hold this piece under black light, you see all the different layers of that history. It's still there, it still exists. So when we're asking this philosophical question of whether Black people still belong in hip hop, I think the answer is always yes, because that history is still there. Those layers still remain, no matter, who's on top and who has kind of conquered that area, or who's the gatekeeper, and who has, ultimately who's paying the rent, like who owns the building. Right. So I think that what's happening now, and what's, there's hope, is there's opportunity for, not, maybe it is an erasure, or maybe it's not, maybe it's an addition to the end of that text, which is a continuation of this history. But the bottom line is, you can't, as much as you can erase and rewrite and conquer and like take back, like those layers is what makes this thing whole.
Glass, you there?
Yeah.
Mixer, can you go on mute? Everyone go on mute if you're not talking because of feedback, please.
Yo, hey, peace, y'all. This is Ja. I wanted to jump in real quick. I didn't know if the young lady was done. I didn't want to cut her off.
Nah, you good, John. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
I'm
Sorry.
gonna go after you, Ja. That's All cool. right, cool. So I've been in here listening for a little while, and I think what I haven't heard brought up that I think speaks to a lot of what everybody is talking about as far as white people and certain privileges and feeling comfortable and feeling like they can say or approach this culture in a certain kind of way. And I really like the artists on stage, the DJs, the people who actually get on stage to speak on this. And obviously everybody can interject how they feel. But obviously this is something that Dave Chappelle, infamously dealt with. And it's something that No Name spoke about on Twitter this year that either people didn't understand or she just caught flack for. But as far as the artists, when you get on stage at some of these shows and you look out into the audience and you're performing your art and you're performing a black art and you're speaking to black people and you're a black person coming from a lived perspective and telling your truth, and you look out in the audience and the audience is all white or the audience is mostly white, you see black people, but you see a lot of white faces. And it was brought up earlier about, who are you selling this art to, and why do people get comfortable the way they do? Have any of the artists or DJs gotten on stage at a show, small show, big show, whatever it is, and seen all of these white faces and felt uncomfortable about the dynamic of what's going on? Not necessarily what you're saying, your truth is your truth, but have you ever felt uncomfortable? Have you ever felt like, damn, I'm selling this product now that a lot of artists and a lot of people have worked to build this culture up to a certain point, whether it be international or to be big in the States or whatever the case is, and seeing who it is that's interacting with your art and getting to that point of feeling comfortable and feeling a certain kind of way, because when they look around this audience as audience members, a lot of these people, all they see is themselves as well in these shows. And I've been to a lot of hip hop shows that I would consider some of the most, whether you want to call it underground or the most authentic or the most, I hate this term, but like the real hip hop. And it's a lot of white people there. And it's like, what do you do with that dynamic when you're on tour, going to shows, booking these venues, getting paid, feeding your family, and it's off the strength of all of these white people that have bought CDs, tickets, merch, and are basically putting the money in the culture's pocket. And we also want to keep them at bay and check them to make sure they don't get too comfortable, but they're also putting all of these billions of dollars that we're talking about this culture creates. A lot of that comes from white people, and that's not a justification for them to be comfortable. But I'm just interested in what the artists in the room or the creatives or the people who get on stage and perform the art, how they, I guess, deal with that dynamic.
I mean, that shit. That's why No Name. That's why she quit doing shows. She looked and she seen that it was majority white folks. It was over with. She said, "I ain't doing it no more."
I think that if, and let me just make a point here. My issue is not with white people participating in learning how to dance, rap, or whatever. That shouldn't be a problem. That's a good thing. Somebody enjoys being in your culture and learning from your culture. That's one thing. If you notice, my deal was with the corporate side of it, the extraction of the culture. But if you, whatever background you come from, whatever color you are, whatever culture you originate from, if you are gravitated towards an energy that speaks to you and to how you feel and what makes you feel good, there's nothing wrong with that. And so we see that amongst us, there are people who are classified as Caucasian who truly connect to what we give to the world. That's been going on for generations. What you're seeing now from brothers like Serch, that's not new. And if he truly feels that, or like the other brother who said they really feel it, it's who he is, then that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's for us to say, well, are we saying, or you shouldn't feel that way? That's something that's speaking to his genetic makeup or within his soul. And I think I don't feel there's anything wrong with it. Matter of fact, there isn't anything wrong with that. So
I just asked because I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just asked that because, I feel like it's one of them things where, how you see white people and they're beefing with a cop or they're beefing with some type of public employee, and they say, you work for me, like my taxes pay your salary, like that kind of elitism, that kind of feeling a rightful ownership of things because you've been so financially invested in this culture.
Right. Well, here's the deal, man. We seem as melanated people, what we are making a critical mistake of not understanding the difference between sociological and biological issues. Okay. That is a sociological issue. Every issue that we have in this country with Europeans, for us, we deal with it sociologically. Serch getting into hip hop and the other brother and the white B-boys and all that, that's a biological thing. That's biological, not sociological. Fucking with the police. Excuse me?
You losing me.
Yeah,
How
how's that
biological? How do you mean? Like, I'm just with love and respect. Like, how do you mean?
If you sit there and you sit in front of speakers and your frequency resonates to a certain rhythm that gets you going, that's not a sociological thing. If a cop comes in there and pushes you out your chair, that's a sociological thing. That's what I'm saying.
Hey,
hold
on.
Script. Go ahead, Script.
Hold on. I gotta ask. So look, hey, Serch, you still here?
Yes, sir.
So you feel like if you grew up somewhere else, you feel like you still would have been a rapper? You still would have been in hip hop like this?
It's a really good question.
It really is.
I can't talk about the hypothetical. I can't. This is the only thing I can share with all of y'all. Where I was born and where I was raised was in Far Rockaway, Queens, where everything I knew was what I knew.
So that's sociological.
Yeah, but Far Rockaway, Queens in the 1960s was a Jewish neighborhood. It's not the Far Rockaway
not true. Not
we
true
know
at
now.
all. That's not true. It's inaccurate. I was born May 6, 1967. My neighborhood, where I was on Mott Avenue, was right next to Red Fern Projects and right next to Seeger Boulevard Projects. And those were as defined by lower income housing. That was a statute that was created by New York State in the 60s to create lower and middle income housing, so that it would be
sir.
rent stabilized, right? So the people I grew up with.
Real quick, that I know you finna go into a long thing, but
no, I'm not.
No. Look. You just answered it. You already answered the question. I ain't gonna lie to you. You already answered it. That's clearly you just basically stated that it's sociological. So DXT, like I was with you on everything else you were saying.
I think you misunderstood me, and so I'm gonna rephrase it. Let me try to rephrase it. Okay. We function in this environment that we're in. We deal with our oppressor sociologically. They are absolute about their behavior towards us because they do not deal with us sociologically. They understand their situation from a biological position. And so because we deal with it sociologically, we march and wave banners and rainbows and scream and riot and do all of that shit. They respond to that because it's necessary, okay? Because it's designed to get us to give them a predictable outcome, and they're ready to do that because we deal with it sociologically. We're always in our feelings. Now, when I walked into Kool Herc's gym at the PAL, right? I walked in there and I heard all those records before, right? But I heard them on a tiny little box. But when I walked into that gym and he threw on Apache and the frequencies resonated through my soul, that's biological. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And so he didn't have to tell me that this is where I needed to be. Mm-hmm. My spirit and my soul told me that's where I was supposed to be.